We've still got a slightly negative tinge of flows, but it's improving. So we're having improving negative flows, if that makes any sense. It's not going to take much good news here at all. Any type of good news that we get today at all is going to lead to a fairly decent rebound in the markets because we are getting decently oversold on multiple levels. And speaking of that, let's just go ahead and get into what you need to know before the bell today. So for the last 2 days, we've been flirting with this 100-day moving average. We've broken it twice. We broke it day before yesterday, and we broke it yesterday. Both days that we broke that, kind of good news here. We're actually seeing money flows coming into the markets. Markets are recovering by the end of the day, which is good. We're back above the 100-day moving average, holding that support level. And again, we've seen overall money flow into the market increasing. So during this decline that we had over the last 2 weeks, we saw money flows deteriorate, became fairly negative. So we saw monetary outflows in the markets over the last 2 weeks. We're now starting to see that begin to turn. We've still got a slightly negative tinge of flows, but it's improving. So we're having improving negative flows, if that makes any sense. Again, markets, as we talked about yesterday, are oversold here on multiple levels. So again, it's not going to take much good news here at all. Any type of good news that we get today at all is going to lead to a fairly decent rebound in the markets because we are getting decently oversold on multiple levels. So be a little bit cautious about getting too defensive. And again, we talked about taking some profits yesterday, but we took profits in energy stocks as an example, which have been doing very well because we had talked about here on the show, I guess about a month ago, we had wanted to add energy exposure because oil prices had gotten fairly oversold here on multiple levels and we were triggering a buy signal, so we increased our exposure to our energy stocks. Since then, energy's had a really, really big run here despite the fact that the dollar's been going up. So this has been just really a reflexive rebound in a very oversold energy market. And again, if we just kind of look back over time here a bit, you can see that energy prices had gotten deeply distressed relative to kind of the longer term trend, had a big downturn. This kind of a bounce in oil prices was expected. So we increased oil stocks. We took profits out of those yesterday. We also trimmed back a little bit of JP Morgan yesterday. We had bought JP Morgan previously. It had gotten pretty beat up. Bought that, had a nice gain in it, and so we just trimmed that back a little bit. And we just basically reduced a lot of positions back to target yesterday. Ahead of earnings today, JP Morgan announced earnings today. Very, very good earnings for JP Morgan. I was a little worried about higher interest rates and potentially credit losses, those type of things. But report was really good today. Stock's going to be up about 2% today overall. So financials should do well today. We've got a lot of banks kicking off earnings today. And over the next week or so, we'll talk a lot more about earnings here on the show. That's what you need to know before the bell this morning.